So my setup here is really, I told you I'm doing the Chromebook series in my last video, and I have to say my setup right now is like teeter-totter. Everything's on a perfect balance, and I think any crazy move or slight, not even crazy move, just slight move, I think it's all going to come tumbling down. So we're going to try not to do that. My video today, I thought of an idea, and this is Objective Personality System. I've been kind of mulling this around, watching the videos on the OPS site. And there was a recent one with Dan Martell. And one thing I noticed, Dave and Shan, both being social types 1 and 2, I think there is this, obviously, they like business because 2s are the entrepreneurs, 1s are like the CEOs. And so that's very business mindset, right? Someone who is going to start a business, maintain a business. And I see a lot of their content is around this. It gives me a perspective I wouldn't normally gravitate to. I don't watch the same videos. I don't understand. Like Gary Vee's one that I look at, and he talks about social media and outreach. And I look at, so I know that he's very rich, but then I look at his YouTube views and I'm like, they're really low for someone that I would think that is that rich. So he must be getting his money other ways, maybe as a consultant. I really don't know what he does, but it's interesting to me. It's interesting, like what, I'm still unsure what he does. Anyway, about the content they give, and I want to give a different point of view because I'm a social type 4. And there's one thing I see, that the level of growth mindset and sort of balance they see with professionals. So with people who are 1s and 2s, sometimes 1s are not necessarily this way. I have to really think about 2s some more, but I can definitely think of 1s who aren't necessarily professional. But I do think when you're in a company, typically there is a professionalism. And by definition, I have my iPad here, professionalism is about skill, good judgment, polite behavior, and to do a job well. So there is something professional. You're basically always out there presenting yourself like you're talking to clients. And another thing that comes with professionalism is distance and neutrality. So I think that can be seen ironically, or maybe ironically, as growth, when I do think it's good for, I do wonder if these people behind closed doors are just as professional and neutral in their home life. And I'm going to guess they're not as neutral. I'm sure there's some things that bleed into their personal lives, but I do think that can be, to me, a bit of a facade. And I think there's something to be said for honesty. So I think when you're in the friends coin, like I am, that there's a lot higher value placed, and the growth mindset is more about growing as a person, being honest, being authentic, having real relationships. So I feel professionals are wanting to have relationships with everyone. So that's why you might see they don't do well if they have political affiliations and religious affiliations out there kind of plastered and in your face. That can be a really turn off to some customers, right? I think even Dave talked about Bud Light and when they're trying to grab, and I think this is something companies are playing around with. Some companies are playing around with is trying to get in certain groups to gain a market. But it can really backfire because professional distance and neutrality is almost like the gold standard of if you want to have a lot of business, if you want to have high numbers. So for instance, okay, one of the things, like I was watching that video of Dan Martell, and one thing that he mentioned was video editing, how he saw that was so valuable because of your videos are going to be more engaging and more people are going to watch it. Well, it's so funny because I make videos and I post them, and my mindset is I hope they don't have a high reach. I hope they don't get a large reach. because I think that's not something really what only certain social types might want. Um, that might be a goal for certain social types, I'm guessing. Uh, I don't know if that's just flex, maybe. Flex that wants to be seen everywhere and be seen by a lot of people. Whereas to me, it's like, no, I would rather it sort of gradually leak to people who are interested. Instead of being shoved in the face and someone feels like they have to comment. Like once something's on social media everywhere, people just breathe their comments, like they're breathing. They don't have to say something, but they will say something, and that can give, it's kind of like play, I guess. It gives you some feedback that you wouldn't normally get, but sometimes it's one person, right? When one person can create a lot of accounts, and it can seem like there's only 10 people commenting on a post, and someone's made 5 accounts or more. That's kind of like, it is not true feedback. And I think Joe Rogan, who's a social force, says he doesn't read comments, and I think that is the best way to go when you get big. But however, that is not the goal. So while I did as a specialist of being a 4, there's a specialist in me that's like, oh, I would love to make my videos great and nice, but then it's like, well, I don't want to make them fancy to attract people. I want to make them fancy because I want to learn a skill. That being said, I gave up on it because I was trying to find something that I didn't have to OI too much, and then I just gave up on it, and now I'm kind of enjoying being able to press record and go. But anyway, back to growth mindset with social force. So I think Friends has a really, social force, see friends and family as sort of a high, what they value. And so I think being honest and having genuine relationships, whether they're few or far between, and sort of being yourself and having people gravitate towards you that you would rather like you for you than just to get money or just to get your name out there, or just so you can mentor as many people as you can. That is not a goal. So when you take that out, I think you're left with a little more authenticity. And so that is a DI-like aspect to me of Friends. So I do think people say Friends has DE because DE is friends. But I think there's a DI in that you want to be friends by being authentic as a 4. And a number 1, for instance, a number 1, and even number 2, there's a little more single decider about, DI like with Flex at least. And I think with the Flex coin, you might want to have a large reach, and perhaps, although not all ones do this, but perhaps there's a bit of neutrality, which to me is a little more DE because it's hiding self and presenting a facade that you can reach more of the tribe. You want to reach more of the tribe, whereas with a social 4, you're not trying to reach all of the tribe. And while I would think, yes, as a social 4, I feel like I want to be friendly to everyone. I don't want to be friends with everyone. And maybe that's my consumed sleep. Like, I don't have the energy. Maybe if I was sleep last, I would feel a little bit different. I would feel very, very DE-like with wanting friends and also wanting to be neutral. But as a consumed sleep friends, I think there's something about authenticity that is highly valuable. And I think there's a lot of growth to be said in that. But there's a lot of growth because I think when you're going towards, so for instance, I'm a social 4 and I feel like my job is a 3 job. It's a very 3 job, and there is a sense of not being able to be myself, or when I am myself, that the people who are seen as, star employees have this sense of holding back and sort of not really being themselves. You feel like you don't really know them. From a force standpoint, I feel like I don't know who you are. You just seem kind of robotic to me. Like those people feel a little robotic to me. And so, I think having true connection can be harder when you are holding back in that manner. And so I guess my point was to talk about growth, sort of seeing it from a different perspective. When you are thinking that professionalism is the best thing because you want to start a business or be a CEO, you might think, well, being neutral and holding back and being polite. And being polite is being polite when you should be polite is good. But I think there's being polite when you don't need to, when you should be polite, is also highly skilled in a lot of growth. There's a lot of growth in being able to, because I almost feel more double decider like being a 4 with DI, lead DI, because there's this sense of wanting to be friendly to people, but also wanting to be authentic, like wanting to have your friends that you have in your life come from authenticity. I think there's a lot you can say about the downside of trying to please people as businesses and CEOs try to please people when they bend over backwards. I think, there's a definite negative to that. That to me is not. I would say the dark side of the social types that go for professionalism. Those are my thoughts that I wanted to explore on here, and my setup did not fall down, so that is good. And so that is all for my discussion now. Until next time.